Pearl Jam. I should have known. So we are doing a stream here. This is actually my first stream in well over a year. Usually don't do streams, but I thought, it might be fun to do a stream post Alien Earth because obviously it's a unique thing. It's something that might not come along all too often. And I did kind of think, when it first started, when it was first coming, I should say. Maybe I should do like reaction streams. Did we try vodka? We did. I'm trying vodka right now. But who knows? Like, I don't even know if actually season two is going to come. I know they're talking about it, and I know at least in the beginning, the viewings were really high for the first two episodes. They premiered on the same day and everything like that. So you got to figure how much Hulu's top-rated show really takes into account, especially now that they're merging in the future, which they've always been here in Canada. By the way, it's always been Disney Plus and Hulu together. So whether or not it kind of maintained that high viewership, I can't say. With any kind of show, I think it has the hype, but then it has kind of the settling into the loyal viewership and things like that. So, well, first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody who's joining in today on this stream. Streams aren't my forte usually, but again, who knows whatever chance I'm going to have to do this ever again. So at least do this once. Maybe not do it every episode. I kind of thought about that at first, but nah, let's not do that. But here it's a special. I'm calling this an after party, right? So it's the Alien Earth season finale after party. We're all here. We're all having a good time. I'm drunk off my ass. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. But maybe after this finale, I should be. No. I thought it was decent. It's definitely an experience to kind of get a grasp of the show now that it has completed this story of the first season, right? So it would have been a completely different thing if they dropped all the episodes in one day, which I'm glad they didn't. I think they did do ultimately a wise thing in that they both had it available to stream at whatever time zone. Me, it was 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. And at the same time, they would have it available on any kind of cable service on FX, right? So you had that two different versions of television watching availability for different types of audiences. So I think that was smart. And you don't see that too much. You do see it in some shows, but not too much. So I thought that was a good decision. And that ultimately, I think, helped the show reach more people than maybe it would have. I know I had some thoughts going into it. How much is this going to appeal to just a mass audience, right? Like not just the Alien fans, just any old person watching it, which who knows, maybe sorry, I'm just posting on Facebook, come see my stream. Who's it going to appeal to ultimately? So I think maybe it did reach a fair amount of people who aren't Alien fans. And we do have a super chat from Highlander723. I thought it was a really good science fiction show. Good take on the Alien. I think generally, yeah. And that's another thing. Another thing that I kind of came into it with was how much of this do I enjoy as like just, a straight up show, a science fiction show, and how much of it as an Alien show. I think from what I've seen from a lot of comments on the reviews that I would post weekly, is that the hardcore Alien fans were very, very hard on it. I found myself hard on it too, in a lot of respects. I know I could hardly go without just yammering on about the man in the suit kind of thing, which it really bugged me. But let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. Let's save that for another time. We're gonna have a fun party here today on Alien Theory stream. But let's take a look at some of the chats here. Uh, Hierophante says, seriously, if you like the show, do us all a favor and do not have kids. Okay, glad I went to the chat here. Highlander seems a little bit more uh, positive. If all he can do is complain about a show and not try to accept a show for what it is, then see why I don't stream? Then you're never going to be satisfied. Cold Piece sends a super chat. Thank you very much, Cold Piece. The writing in the last two episodes took such a nosedive. You know what? I do kind of agree with that. One thing I was kind of feeling about this episode was there was a lot of like villain monologuing. You know what I mean? Like I was almost expecting Boy Cavalier to get into this whole big speech, like a Joker speech, right? Like where he's like, "Let me tell you a story. My father was a drunk," and it's like, "Whoa, okay, are you doing the Heath Ledger Joker thing?" I don't know, but it was a lot of that. Like a lot of people kind of explaining their things, their motivations and stuff. It's like ultimately, what I felt my issue with this last episode was that it felt too quick. I think they could have taken more time. I think this could have been like an hour and a half. Louis Pickman sends a super chat. Thank you, Louis. I feel like they should have made it more contained. This was obviously setting up a season two. Should have been 9 episodes. Well, yeah. Again, just on that same topic of it feeling kind of a little bit rushed, because like I was kind of thinking to myself. Trailer Park Bubble says, "Do you want to know why I wear no shoes?" That's funny. Yeah, we need an origin story of why he doesn't wear shoes. But we did have confirmation that he has ADHD in this episode, very severe ADHD. I wonder what that's like. Anyway, about the pacing of the show that I found a little off. It's like, yeah, this could have been like an hour and a half episode. This could have been 2 episodes. Why not do a 10 episode season? I mean, a lot of series have the 10 episodes, and I think that leaves a lot of breathing room for a lot of these ideas. And one of the things that I was wondering was like, how is this all going to end? And I wasn't quite sure of how my, I'm still digesting it, I guess, on how it ends. Stomical says or asks thoughts on Kersh versus Morrow scene. Yes, if there's one highlight that I can say absolutely delivered in every possible respect, that had me fist pumping, that had me, just on the edge of my seat with glee, was that brawl between Kersh and Morrow, because I was looking forward to it. And I think I even said in one of the reviews, I'll be bitterly disappointed if they don't have some kind of showdown. They didn't even have to go that hard, but they did, which I appreciate. It's like the big, like, it kind of reminded me a little bit of, the David versus Walter scene from Covenant, right? So having them brawl and kind of answering the question in a way of synthetic versus cyborg, you kind of feel Cyborg did get the upper hand, but then he gives his own little speech too, and it amounts to kind of his own pride that lets him somewhat lose the fight. And of course, Kersh just has to put in a little one-liner there, just like, just pissing his cereal just before, even on the verge of death, or whatever equivalent android death is, right? I don't know, but that I liked. That I did like that moment. I thought it was very satisfying. I was yeah, the more Ursh Bowl. Yeah, it was much better than the what was it in Game of Thrones, Clegarian Bowl or whatever it was. Fox Die 420 says superpowers don't belong in aliens or talking to the Xenos. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think maybe if they did it in a different way, people wouldn't have too much of an issue with it, but maybe not. Maybe just in any sense, you're screwed on that. Um, Xenodork says hard to agree on more episodes or longer final episode at the very least, and could have easily wrapped things up. This is why I hate TV sometimes and prefer movies. Yeah, I mean same. Comparing this to any movie, it's like, it's one and done with a movie, which is more satisfying in a way. We have a super chat from Numer Newbie Diary. Sorry, I don't see your full name here. This is why I do not stream. Um, but thank you, Newbie Diary. I agree it should have been extended, but the people giving idiotic negativity here are delusional trolls. This has been a fantastic expansion of the Alien universe and opens creative storytelling. I feel that's fair. It's kind of funny. I want to see everybody kind of brawl in the comments. People who like the show and people who hate the show. Fight it out, guys. Morrow versus Kersh. Fans of the show versus haters of the show. Who wins? Who comes out? And who would represent who? Everybody pick a team. So let's say, for argument's sake, Cyborg, a little older technology. So non-fans of the show would be Morrow, let's say, and fans of the show would be Kersh, right? Okay, so who's Team Kersh? Who's Team Morrow in this chat brawl? No, everybody be nice, please. Part-time creative says no matter who wins, we lose. Yeah, exactly. Michael Williams says, "Yay, let's celebrate that it's over." The Onslaught 616 says Team Eyeball. You know, yeah, Team Eyeball. At the end of the day, I think everybody loved the Eyeball. So kudos. And that was another thing. Geez, it's like, I did kind of like take a look at like, oh, how much is left in this episode? Like, oh, 7 minutes, not taking into account like the 14 minutes of credits. And the Eyeball finds a host, right? And you're like, oh, are they gonna follow up on this or no? But that was kind of a cliffhanger part to the episode, unfortunately. So another thing that was going on in my mind was, hold on a second, what if they actually end up just wrapping everything up? What if this is in a similar way that Fargo is? What if it's an anthology show? What if each season is just a completely new, different story with new, different characters, which actually could have been interesting and still could be interesting. You don't quite know yet what direction they may want to go. I know Noah Hawley has said he has certain ideas and he wants to take it in certain ways. He mentioned sort of in a sly kind of way, like, yeah, we could connect this to Aliens. So Alien Earth being like this different anthology of stories on Earth. So this one season, let's say, is the prequel, taking place before the events of Alien. This is just the little tiny touch that aliens had on Earth for a brief moment before Ripley, before the Nostromo, before 57 years in between Aliens. Then we have the second season taking place, let's say, after Aliens and Alien 3, which could be very interesting, where, let's say, they do a plot line similar to Earth War in the comics, and they have the invasion of Earth, the outbreak on Earth, and that's all the season is devoted to. That could be interesting, I think, with new characters, new story. But let's say the Lost Boys are still around, right? Because they are synthetic bodies and they can live for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? And so we, like, say, maybe don't see Wendy for like the first episode or two, and then she shows up and she's like, yes, I've seen these things before. Stuff like that. Then like another season, it could be like this post-apocalyptic, in the ruins of humanity, aliens ruling everything kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. That could be kind of cool stuff to see, in my opinion, if they were to choose to go that way. But I still have no idea what the overall idea is of this series and where it's going. It does seem like we have enough room to follow up on this last episode with a new story with the same characters, right? They could continue. They left things hanging. I mean, we kind of thought, is Boy Cavalier going to get it? Is he going to... Everyone was expecting him to be imaged, right? Everyone thought T.S. Ellis, Boy Cavalier, that's the match made in heaven. That's what we're going to get. But no, and part of me thought, if he's going to get it, it's probably going to be from an alien, in my opinion. That's what I thought. But neither. He stays alive. So he lives to fight another day. And he could continue in the next season, as could just about everybody who's still remaining in this season. And whatever's going to be going on with zombie eyeball Arthur, which I was a little bit confused about. I didn't realize that the T.S. Ellis could overtake a dead host. I thought the whole idea was that it could not. But I guess it can. I don't know. But another thing I was thinking, again, we never really got, unfortunately, for Boy Cavalier, we never got that interesting conversation that he wanted. And one thing I was kind of thinking is that what if someone were implanted via a facehugger, they had the embryo growing in them, and while the embryo is still in there, the T ocellus takes over. Can it only take over the host, or can it take over the parasite inside the host as well? And could it prevent it from bursting out of the chest? And could a three-way conversation between alien embryo, human host, and whoever's talking to it be, right? Union Forever, Dixie Never has a super chat. Thank you. Union Forever, Dixie Never. Romulus and Earth are perfect contrasts. Whoops. It got off me for a little bit. Romulus and Alien Earth are perfect contrasts. One played it super safe, too safe, and the other cut its own path. Have to say, I prefer the ballsier approach. Yeah, everyone, even people who like Romulus, will say, hey, what's with all the callbacks? Come on, what are you doing? And it was, yes, it was very safe. But I felt for, at least for that point in time, that was kind of what we needed. Because the Ridley Scott prequels kind of didn't play it safe either, and they were ballsy in my opinion. And the reaction to them was a little varied, let's say. So it felt for at least that point in time, and this following up on that, I think, is kind of just perfect timing for everything. We have another super chat from Man Samsung. I like and respect Alien Theory, but he clearly shilled hard for this show. Stevie Wonder could Stevie Wonder, really. Stevie Wonder could see that Alien Earth was a laughable parody Alien. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, you can consider Alien Resurrection a parody of Alien as well. But Shield, no. I mean, geez. Aside from getting that little USB drive with the cat stuff, I mean, it's not like they're sending me stuff to say good things about the show. My opinions are my own. It's how I felt about the show, and my reviews, I hope were, candid enough, honest enough, and that I didn't necessarily give it a free pass with things that I felt weren't so good. And I expressed what I liked about it, and I felt the desire to engage with it. A lot of people I've noticed, and I had tried in certain episodes, not every single episode, but let's say the premiere episodes, and some episodes that I was more interested in hearing opinions about here and there. You look on YouTube, you look for reviews, and it's like, I don't know, they're just I don't know. Like, not that I'll name names, name channels or anything, but a lot of these are like really obnoxious reviews that feel more like bad stand up than actually wanting to talk about the show. They're actively fighting against the show to fit their shtick instead of actually engaging with the show. So I wanted to engage with the show. I wanted to be serious about it, and really give it a chance, and really kind of chew on what they were offering with it, and hopefully express the whole experience. And again, it's just a different experience in seeing a new episode, an hour long, week per week, than it would have been than to have it drop all at once and marathon it in one day. If that were the case, you'd still be waiting for the review. I'd still be like putting it together. Don't worry, guys. 6 weeks off. We'll get it done sometime. So it is a different experience because you have like different highs, different lows, and I felt that, and that's a cool thing. That's a new experience as an Alien fan. So you can, one week you can be like, yeah, this episode's great. The next, like, it's a little bit, I don't know about this one. Then the next week it's like, yeah, this one's great. And it's an up and down. It's a cool thing. Stephen Ayer has a super chat. Says, I enjoyed all your reviews. I also really enjoyed most of the season. It was a fun and enjoyable show. I wish more of it was resolved rather than open. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Well, in one sense, it felt resolved. At least, I don't think at this point, we're not going to be going back to the island. There's got to be something else in season two. But there are questions again with Arthur and, those two aliens. It's like the mama and baby alien are outside of the cage, and Cavalier is in his Jesus Christ pose, and it's like, what are we doing here? I don't know. Where can we continue from here? I have no idea. Which is kind of a good thing. But I mean, if we're just going back to the island again, like whatever. But I would assume that Wayland Yutani ended up getting what they wanted, right? I mean, they were on their way at the end of this episode. You could see, the air team, the team of Wayland Yutani soldiers on their way. So I'd imagine if we have a season two, we would kind of skip ahead a little bit, and it would be, hey, Wayland Yutani has them now, which is strange. Strange to think that they already had them this whole time. I don't know. How far can we jump ahead? Are we going to overlap Alien? Is it going to overlap Alien Romulus at some... I don't know. The timeline has always been a problem for me. And Stephen Eyre also says the first two episodes on the island, you think? Kind of like the first two on the ship. Possibly. It could be like just, the aftermath and Boy Cavalier being like, man, can't believe I screwed up so bad. It was kind of cool in this episode, though, seeing Boy Cavalier just like completely just off his meds, off his rocker. Just there's this one little moment where he's kind of just near the end, actually, where he's trying to get off the island and get to his evac, and he's just kind of skipping along. I thought that was a funny visual. And again, Samuel Blanken did a really good job with the character. I thought he was quite good, quite antagonistic and just enraging when he had to be, but also a funnier side when we see kind of the cracks in this character. Spartan VR TTV says Boy K shing his pants was so satisfying. It certainly was. It really was. Plumbing explained. Thank you for pointing that out. The skipping had me laughing. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, there earlier comment, saying it was like a parody, but it had some surreal moments, had some bizarre kind of absurdity to it, which I like that kind of stuff. Vorlando has a super chat. He says, outside of Morrow, Kersh, and the goat, this show was a disappointment. Howley was critical of Prometheus, yet gave us something far less interesting. I mean, yeah, I like if you want to just put them up against each other, do I like the overall story of Prometheus against the overall story of Alien Earth Season 1? So incredibly easy for me. It's Prometheus. I am a very big fan of Prometheus, and I make no bones about that. Jamie has a super chat, says, I enjoy your channel. I really like the show. It almost felt like a comic book adaptation, and I really like that about it. Thank you, Jamie. And yeah, that's true. And another comment I've seen, I don't know if I saw it like in a comment in one of my videos, or if it was just somewhere on social media, but someone pointed out, said, if this had been a comic book instead of a show, people would be praising it. Which I don't know. It's hard to say, but you'd kind of think if you saw this in a comic book form, it would be kind of cool to see. I think maybe they should go back to the old days where they do comic book adaptations. It's like such a lost art. I was so disappointed that the Alien Romulus comic was just a prequel. I would have loved to see just a straight out adaptation of Alien Romulus, and I would love to see an Alien Earth comic. And maybe there could be a comic, let's say there's a season 2, there could be a comic kind of bridging the gap. So if we don't get a straight adaptation, then we could get something that kind of takes place in between the seasons, which could be fun. Flame says, felt like an alien Pokemon parody show made by a fan. That just makes you think, I mean, we should have like a parody Pokemon game in the style of Alien, where you can collect like the Teocelas and the Deep Blue Macare and the fly creatures and have them battle. I think that could be fun. Stomical asks, which do you prefer, Covenant's Protomorph or Earth's Xenomorph? I don't know. We didn't get too much time with the Protomorph. We had so much time. I know this sounds silly, but personality wise, I would say actually Alien Earth. If we're talking about, let's say, Bear or Patches, I call him Patches. Can we get that going? Patches is the adult xenomorph of the later half of the season. I don't know. Personality wise, maybe those two I would prefer, but like design wise and just effects wise, I mean, definitely Covenant, because I've made my complaints about the man in the suit stuff. But I noticed in this episode they're a little more tactful with the effects and the man in the suit stuff, and you did see a little teeny tiny bit of CGI in some shots, or at least really really effective angling to make it look as if it were. So I thought they did a better job. Again, there was a big challenge in the previous episode of just having everything out in broad daylight. Spartan VRTTV says, I loved how aggressive Bear was. Really showed how visceral a Xeno can be. Yeah, he was, it was fun. I was sad to see him go. Episode 3. Adam Kraft says, I would have liked to have seen Boy Cavalier try to implant a human consciousness into a xenomorph, perhaps season 2. Yeah, that could be cool. I mean, people say, those who dislike this show and say there's silly, stupid stuff in the show, I understand, but I mean, in the realm of the comics, there's so much silly, stupid stuff. You have stuff like Alien's Stronghold with Jerry. I mean, everyone seems to love Jerry, but if we saw a Jerry show up in this show, people would be saying this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen, right? So you can't really win. Sometimes you have to take a swing with the ideas. Sometimes you'll hit, sometimes you won't. I don't know. Smooth says, hey man, I really wanted to say thanks for your work. I really like your channel. I have very mixed feelings about the show, but I love Alien and watched all the movies, especially 1 and 2. Dozens of times. Well, thank you, Smooth. I appreciate that, and I'm right there with you. I mean, I've watched all of the Alien movies so many times, but 1 and 2. Well, actually, 1, 2, and 3. I've watched quite even 4 actually. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've just watched countless times, over and over and over and over again. Xenodork says, Alien Theory. What is your alien theory on what the deal with Patches being so very patchy? I feel like it must have been the lung. That's all I can really think of, is that, maybe because it was damaged and because it was in stasis and because they had artificial breathing, oxygen didn't get into it the way it should. I don't know. And that caused some kind of birth defect of some kind. I really don't know. That's the best I can come up with. That's my theory. I doubt you'll see a video on that, but that's generally what I might say. Newbie Diary again. Another super chat. Thank you so very much. Dana is your name. Looking forward to season 2 and Queen Wendy. Haters will watch for ratings boost. Thank you. Dana signing off to go hear the podcast. Yeah, I always love to listen to the podcast after I watch the show. They have good guests. I mean, they have everybody from the show, right? And showing up and doing like a little insight into their characters, and even like in the previous episode, I guess you can say, of the podcast, they had the composer Jeff Russo kind of talking about it. And if I never get the chance to talk about this specific portion of it, I really love the music in the show. I especially really love that main theme that's kind of surreal and kind of dreamy and very alien-like. And I should note that while I am doing this stream, which is kind of an impromptu thing, and it's just kind of, just for the sake of doing it and having a little bit of fun, having a little party, I'm still going to, do as I usually do and write up a review. And I know usually that takes a little bit of time. And again, I'm still digesting my thoughts on the show. Like right now, in real time, I'm just spouting out whatever the hell comes to my head about this final episode. And sometimes it's better to form your opinion when you kind of just grab all these thoughts and try to shuffle them in order and you know, come up with something a little more cohesive, I guess, which is how I prefer to do it. Because you always end up missing things, which I hate. And even when I write those out, I miss things too. So any kind of like proper review would really just be like 6 hours long. It would be just rambling. Space Cowboy says, I really hope they put a lot more money into season two. For an alien show to work, it needs movie quality money, in my opinion. I definitely agree with that. But I'll say the budget was impressive with this show. I mean, it didn't look cheap. I had reservations about the suit, and some effects here and there weren't perfect. There like some green screen stuff. You're like, really? For the most part, though, it looked pretty good. It looked like it did have money put into it, which I did appreciate. Austin Meme says, You're doing great, man. Excited to see you streaming. Well, thank you, Austin. I appreciate that. It's fun to stream a little bit. Again, this is my first stream in well over a year. I think the last stream I had, which I think I still have the thumbnail up on it, was like when I think the second Alien Romulus trailer came out. Life kind of fell apart after that. But anyway, Jacob Pugh says, I'm not going to separate Alien Earth from Scott as he is an executive producer on it. Yes, so we still can blame Scott. We can still blame Ridley Scott on it. Nick has sent a super chat. Thank you very much, Nick. I find the cliffhanger intriguing. However, I'm concerned about the overall timeline. How would you suppose they resolve that to stay in continuity? I mean, I guess they'd have to have it the next season take place very, very soon after the event. So even if, let's say, 2 years in real time pass, it could be a month in the show's time, still take place within the same year as we currently see it. I mean, that's the only way around it, unless they do an absurd twist of things and do the jump like I was talking about, like have it take place after Aliens and Alien 3, which I guess anything and everything is on the table. It's hard to really say. Again, Noah Hawley said he had some ideas, but who knows how those may have been reshaped based on fan reaction. To his credit, he's done a lot of interviews. Like literally after every show, there's an interview. After every episode, he'll do with like Decider or Hollywood Reporter or any number of shows really, and on the podcast. So he'll always kind of have his finger on the pulse of what might be working and what is more controversial, let's say. Scott Alicious McFabulous says he sounds pretentious in those interviews. Well, all directors are pretentious. All these guys are. Plowson said, I was hoping for more from our plant/starfish friend. Yeah, that went too fast. That was, another issue with the pacing of this last episode. We just saw it just really, really quickly. And it was like, all that wait for that? T-Mixed, says, if T.S. Sellis doesn't win an Emmy for his performance, I'm going to be so piffed. Yes, all the Emmys for T.S. Sellis. Smooth says, do you think there's a reason why the alien, even the guy in the costume budget, is so brown instead of dark black? And do you think the missing slimy look is due to its budget reasons? With the colorization, it could be any number of reasons. I mean, sometimes you figure these things adapt to their environment, which that second Xenomorph, if it is on Earth, maybe it's more earthy tones. Again, also the long, in terms of them just sliming it up, which maybe that could have been an easy fix to make it look a little better. I think I'm not entirely sure, but this special effects studio in Thailand, I think this is their first time doing anything related to Alien, isn't it? I know Weta had some relation to the production. I'm not sure exactly who did what. So that could be it. They could be like, well, we don't have really a guidebook that we have to follow, right? Arcanum 24 has a super chat. Wheeling Yutani always knew. This fact makes the evil of the corporation even more notable in the case of Alien and Aliens. Well, see, that's what. And thank you very much, Arcanum 24. I'm wondering if they do get their hands on the specimens at the end of this season and we see season 2 opening up, they have them, then obviously they're going to drop the ball in some kind of way and they have to go back to the drawing boards like, hey, we need this again. There's no really solid rule, I guess, that says they never had them before, right? I mean, if one corporation can have them, another can. And another thing I was thinking about was that, going into the show, I always just kind of assumed that out of these 5 corporations, and they even talk about it in the first episode, like only one will really remain victorious. It doesn't necessarily mean that only Weyland Yutani remains standing. I mean, these other corporations, they could have some kind of presence in the future. Like, who knows? Like, even like, let's just say for argument's sake, we know, of course, that Seegson exists in the world of Alien and Alien Isolation. Off the top of my head, I don't know how long Seegson has been operating, but it's always possible that after the events of Alien Earth, maybe Prodigy just, completely spilled over and bankrupt, and they're absorbed by something like Seegson, perhaps. Anthony Gonzalez says, we still never got resolved on Kersh's intentions. Yeah, I mean, he didn't really. Of everybody who had their own little villain speech, I was kind of hoping at least Kersh would explain something. But no, let's hear about Adam Hines growing up with Boy Cavalier for about 2 minutes as he takes off his jacket, rolls up his sleeves, gets ready to brawl like a proper English boxer, which was great. And wow, I guess I eat some crow there because I've personally thought, based on episode, I think it was 6, I thought, well, this guy has to be human, but no, apparently, he's a synthetic, and obviously the implication from the juxtaposition of the shot of Ainz in the hallway waiting for Hermit, and Boy Cavalier telling his story is that when he was 6 years old, he built this synthetic, a nice proper gentleman, I guess, and he had this synthetic kill his father for him. Very interesting. Dylan says, I have really liked the show personally, but this episode was very anticlimactic for me. Yeah, I can see that. I can see, like, let's say, obviously we have some varied opinions in the comments, but let's say someone who's just really, really into the show, loved every episode. Does this particular finale to the season satisfy? I don't know. I mean, I can see if you just straight out hate the show every single episode, you're going to hate this too, but what if you were really kind of gunning for a grand finale? Did you get it? I don't know. I mean, in some senses you did. I would say generally it checks the boxes of a somewhat satisfying ending to a season as much as you can, with leaving as much open as a television show is off to do, right? But still resolving the arc of the show. I mean, when you think about how everything started and where we ended up with here, it's quite incredible the strides that the show took in so few episodes. Darmex has a super chat. Thank you, Darmex. Noah did disregard Alvarez in the Alien canon and did mention the show being its own thing. Still should have borrowed the suits from Romulus. Yeah, and Romulus, they had these animatronics too, which were quite nice. Thinner than a human and more alien-like. Arcanum has another super chat. Thank you again. I don't know if you noticed, but Wheeling Yutani don't use pulse rifles or smart cannons. Prodigy do. Hostile merger, perhaps? Looks like Weyland-Yutani gets the patent, then the Colonial Marines. I did not notice that, actually. That's something to think about. I mean, if you want to go by the official things, I mean, I would think somewhere in there it's like Weyland-Yutani designed and patented everything, right? But maybe they're rewriting history and it's like, oh, well, it was all ours from the very beginning. But at the same time, it's like whoever's creating these arms in this world will gladly sell to anybody, any corporation, Prodigy, Weyland-Yutani, Dynamic, anybody who wants them and who can pay up. Derelict says, they said that Alien fans don't care for perfect continuity. I remember that, yeah. So they don't feel like, oh, shoot. So they don't feel like they have to adhere to making sure everything lines up. Well, yeah. Space Cowboy has a super chat for me. Thank you very much, Space Cowboy. Please consider doing more live streams for season 2. This is awesome and great for discussion. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm always, I'm a little self-conscious about the live streams. I don't know. I thought, I should at least do it. Just this once, if I never, ever, ever get a chance again. But this being my first live stream in a year must say something. Jonathan Avery says they blueballed us on the biggest payoff, a conversation with T.S. Ellis. Yeah, I mean, they were kind of teasing that. And at the end of the previous episode, Boy Cavalier did say, oh, I know exactly who. So was he referring to Joe, to Hermit? I guess he must have been. Which, by the way, I like that scene. I thought that was pretty cool. Again, that could have gone on longer, too. It could have been this big, suspenseful scene where he's, like, running around everywhere, but I don't know. I liked what it was. I thought that was a smart move. He goes into the cage first, and I laughed out loud. The second he gets into the cage, that the T.S. Ellis is smart enough to go for the handle. I love that. That was wonderful. Made me laugh quite a bit. So yeah, from the chat, it looks like a lot of people are kind of agreeing. Yeah, it was probably Joe. Probably who he had in mind. 148 Crusader says the TV show has been pretty okay so far, at least up until the episode The Fly. There was so much brain dead decision making going on that it really just broke my suspension of disbelief. Paul says your live stream has been more engaging than a lot I've watched. Live stream or this show, which I don't know. I hope we're not all ganging up on the show. Generally, I like the show. I just want to make that clear. There are ups and downs for me. Well, it's weird though because episode 6 I really really liked. I would put that among my favorite episodes. But there were so many stupid things. There were. D3 Kuna has a super chat. Thank you very much, D3 Kuna. Ramzambo Riffmeister General says, show is great, the abrupt ending, not so much. Yeah, it's like every time I hear the rock music, I'm like, oh no, we're done. Really, already? Again, each episode felt shorter and shorter to me. This one, the shortest of all. Henrik Moore says, maybe you should consider doing watch parties for S2. Like watch parties or after parties like this? Watch party I could never possibly do. That would just, my attention would be all over the place and I couldn't enjoy the show. But maybe like an after party kind of thing. It's kind of fun. It's fun seeing everybody in here like at once instead of, just a little bit through comments, like siphoning through. I'm doing a hand gesture right now, but you can't see it. Lendra40 says episode 2 is my favorite. You know what? Episode 2 might be my favorite too. I really loved that episode. I thought it had the perfect amount of kind of everything I was expecting from the show. And again, if the show had been longer and took more time, we could have had, 2 or 3 episodes just inside that building, which could have been cool. Pixel Shark sends a super chat. Thank you, Pixel Shark. Love the series. Can't wait for season 2. Arcanum24, who's very generous. Thank you, Arcanum. Another super chat. People keep saying how stupid the crew of the Maginot were. I have noticed that. Do you really think Wayland would send the best? How desperate must you be for a 65-year contract? People cost less than synthetics. Very true, and also, I mean, another thing that Holly alluded to in his interview was like, they're all a little bit crazy. It's like, you know what? Yeah, you'd kind of be a little bit fucking crazy out there. I mean, they're asleep for a good amount of the time, but we're not talking like a 1 to 2 year mission, which I think. Actually, how long was the Nostromo mission? I'm not. I don't. It couldn't have been. Well, let's just say it's not 65 years, right? You gotta get a little stir crazy. It does something to your head. So these guys are all just completely fucked up, and they weren't so great to begin with, which is bad. But no, the decisions in the Maginot episode never really got to me, and that may be another, like, so episode, let's say my 3 favorite episodes might be episode 2, 5, and 6. Actually, those might be my highlights, and 4, 2, 5, 6, and 4. Those would be my kind of primo. At least, now I'm actually kind of excited after because usually what I'll do when I watch the show, I'll first watch the episode just for fun, which I did tonight. And obviously doing this live stream is a little bit different. It's not something I usually do. But then, so first I'll watch the episode just for fun. I'll try not to take any kind of notes, to just enjoy it for what it is. But sometimes I can't help it, so I'll take down a note or two or whatever. But then when I write the actual review, I watch the show again, and so then, I'll watch a little bit here, then I'll pause it and take notes, take notes, things like that. So if I were to do that while live watching the show, it wouldn't be fun, right? I would not get enjoyment out of it. D3 Kuna says, finale is awful, no answers. Series is awesome. So, general idea here. Thank you, D3 Kuna. Disappointing finale. I'm getting from a lot of people, even those who liked it, who thought the series was good. Maybe the finale needed a little bit of work. Adam Kraft says, hope we get to see a cameo from Lance Henriksen in season 2. That would be cool. Even if it's just like, what if it's just like his voice on a computer or something? Skulltown says, damn, that ending was whack. Well, that says it all. Damn, shit, that is whack. Arcanum24, thank you very much. Last twist, Wayland Yutani is run by synthetics, with Yutani being the human front woman of the corporation. No empathy. That was a big theory, actually, back in the days when, I guess before the merger with Disney. People were like, you know what? David is actually the company. He's truly what represents the company, which, I don't know, that still could kind of work, if you think about it. Okay, so Libra Kai says roughly 2 years the Nostromo was on its mission. So, yeah, 2 years with cryo time, no problem. Walk in the park. Anthony Gonzalez says, I miss David. I miss David too. D3 Kuna says, Xeno as a pet is not for me. What do you think? Like, would I actually want a Xenomorph as a pet? Absolutely not. Or do you mean just the concept? I don't know. I mentioned in my review for episode 7 is that it was reminiscent of Eloise, who's a fascinating character, but also didn't really have that much exposure. Didn't get to see too much of her, so while her story is interesting, and interesting in those small doses, could you have a full series of Wendy or Marcy or whatever her name might be right now, with an alien companion, let's say, that does her bidding? That would get a little tiresome. I think it's more engaging to have a character, say like Gallic from Alien 3, who believes that they're simpatico with the alien, but they're not, and swiftly get killed. Or even, say, someone like Getaman from Resurrection. I like those types of characters. Even when you take into consideration the comics and the just stupid reasoning to want to train these aliens. You have someone like General Spears, who immediately just fails in training these, like, just is killed immediately, which is just hilarious. Master Plus says, I would rather watch AVP Requiem 100 times than seeing season 2 of this trash. That's where we differ. Sometimes I'll get flack for, like, pretty much liking anything other than Alien or Aliens, but I can say confidently I hate Aliens versus Predator Requiem. I hate it. Cyber Shaman X sends a super chat. Thank you, Cyber Shaman X. I haven't watched the last episode yet. Oh, you should. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Warning. Danger, danger. Should I watch it, then come back to watch this stream? Thanks for your long-running insight theory. Yes, Cyber Shaman, while I appreciate the super chat, definitely watch out. There will be, I mean, there already have been spoilers for any and every episode, all on the table here. Union Forever, Dixie Never says, when are we going to get the AVPR review vid from Alien Theory? I'll probably never do like a proper review video. Just like any old time, I'll just like drop some shade on AVPR. It's like my little Easter egg. But no, even that, I mean, you try to like a little bit. There are things I like about it. Very few things, but there are things I like about it. Zealot says pretty underwhelmed by the ending. Yeah, see, everybody seems to be feeling the same, I guess. Trackstar says Wendy killed so many by releasing the Xenomorph. I know, right? Just kills everyone. And Derelict says you kind of did with the ranking video. Yeah, so like it was like a mini review of all the movies in a way, and in a lot of ways it was like a, I don't know, like my personal experience with the Alien movies in a way. $148 Crusader says, who do you think's going to get the eyeball in season 2? I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine it being zombie Arthur for the whole time. D3 Kuna says, I want to know T. Ocellus' origin plus Maginot's mission. Thank you for the super chat, and I agree. And that's, something that they could actually do in this show. They could go back. One of the complaints about the Maginot's crew, they're all dumb, they're all idiots, blah, 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 blah. What if we lost all the best people on the mission? Which Shmuel, he kind of alludes to, saying in the very first episode, we lost a lot of good people on that mission. No one specific, who knows, it could have been like a 42-person crew. We're just left with like 12 after whatever they went through. So you could do this standalone episode that's all about the mission, or even standalone episodes of each individual mission, assuming that these monsters weren't all on the same planet, which I don't assume they would be. So you get brand new characters, brand new actors, bring them in, have their own story, and know for certain that they're doomed, but it still works in the same sense that the Maginot works, because we know they're doomed too, except for Morrow. Which Morrow could be a part of that, too. Which he most certainly would be, being head of security, so he'd probably be on the ground with those missions, I would say, right? Pixel Shark says tie-in novel would be great. Yeah, if we don't get it on an episode, at least a book, a comic, anything like that. Cyber Shaman X says thanks, I'm out. Much Xeno love to the Theory Hive. I've been a fan since I was a kid in the early 80s. Peace out, Xeno fans. Stay frosty. Thank you, Cyber Shaman X. I do appreciate it. And please definitely come back. I'll I'll keep everything warm for you, whatever that means. Corey Brown says, I'd like to think with a 65-year mission, they found the Xenos on another planet. Yeah, just where, though? I mean, I still kind of wonder. I mean, they'll probably never explain it, because sometimes it's easier just not explain it, but I still kind of wonder if it is Planet 4 from Covenant. Even knowing that, Howley doesn't quite vibe with the Scott prequels, but it seems, I don't know, where else could it be from? Well, any number of places, really. Arcanum24 says, it is actually somewhat believable. Let's say the Queen forces the alien warriors to imprint on her due to the nature of the Xeno life cycle. They likely imprinted on Wendy due to her glitch. Varg's channel says, crazy that we're all talking about Imagino Chronicles show and not season 2 shows how bad that ending was. Damn. The ending, we did not stick the landing. I mean, that's the sense I'm getting here. Maybe, I don't know. Is it just everyone here? Do we all feel this way? Does anyone here raise your hand if you thought it was a great ending? Great season finale. Smoke says I liked it. Scuttlicious McFabulous says it sucked bad. Iron Blood Angel says I like the ending. Arcanum24 says I liked it. Cornholio for Life says I really liked it. Cyber Shaman X says thanks, keep a cryopod open for me. Okay, so I'll keep it cool for you. Adam Kraft says I haven't watched it yet. Please, warnings for anybody who hasn't seen the finale. We're just full on spoilers here. Spartan VRTTV says mid ending, liked everything else, but hated how it ended open. Aliens Gaming Universe says I'm mixed on the ending. Arcanum24 says Kersh is a legend. He is a legend. I want to see more of Kersh. Smoke says it clearly wants another season. The real peak of the show was like episode 5 through 6. I mean, it's so hard to say when it's just 8 episodes. Like, where did we peak here? McTapatus says trash, trash, trash. Lindara40 says I liked it. They have to make it for clear continuity for next season. At least it semi-confirms it's coming. Well, wouldn't it be a drag if they're like, you know what? No season 2. Ratings tanked. This is all you're getting. Crash and Trash says logical characters that make logical choices. That's all I'm asking for. Hey, if we can't get it in real life, why should we get in TV? D3 Kuna says need more Earth War comics inspiration for the show. Yeah, see, that's why I think it would be kind of cool as an anthology. That way you can kind of jump to something like that. And you won't have to worry about the timeline because you jumped past Alien and Aliens. But yeah, I mean, I'll say I probably like this last episode a slight bit better than the previous episode. The previous I found a little bit disappointing. Again, had some stuff I liked. I mean, we were able to finally get a chest bursting scene, which was nice. This one, it was really kind of like this big kind of haunted house episode, which is kind of cool. Like literally, like let's act like ghosts, which was a little strange, but not bad. It was all right. But yeah, I think I'll be able to better hone in all my thoughts and feelings and write a proper review soon. But I think my technology is failing me right now. Chat's disappeared from me. Maybe I disconnected. I don't know. But I would just like to thank everybody who joined in, who took part in the conversation, who hung out at the party, at our little alien Earth after party. Again, thanks to Cyber Shaman X for showing up. Little Easter egg at the end. Um, and thanks to everybody who super chatted, said nice things. Even everybody who just let loose, and made their opinions known on the show. Trash, 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 whatever you want to say. It's good to have the unfiltered stuff too, because you get a sense of how are people reacting to this, and that's important to know. It's a hell of a thing seeing with each video I do, with each review I do, seeing all the reaction to it. People feel very passionately about this series, very protective of this series, and I do too. So my experience, which I would say is generally more on the positive side. I would say on the more positive side. Um, will differ to other fans because it's such a differing variety of moods and concepts and different types of stories that we can use this alien for. But the long and short of it all is that for the very first time here in 2025, we have a television series based on Alien, which I think is cool, which is I think worth celebrating, worth partying about a little bit. But I will be back soon, probably in a couple of days, with the next review. I'm going to be working on that, sorting out my thought, exercising my demons on everything with this ending and as the show as a whole, I guess, basically. So you'll see that soon. Thank you very, 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 very much, everybody. Stay frosty. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.